Good morning, afternoon, or evening, ladies and gentlemen. Allincrypto here, and welcome back, guys, for what is going to be nothing short of another jam-packed daily cryptocurrency market update. As always, we are still currently away, but we are committed to bringing you guys an update this morning, or it's certainly the morning whilst I'm filming this. I'm wishing you all a wonderful day wherever you are and whatever it is you are currently doing. But we're going to be doing quite a lot in this video. We're going to be talking about the potential for large companies, large institutions to essentially hold Bitcoin on their balance sheet. Now, we got a glimpse of this when Tesla originally did it. There's been lots of kind of whispers around Dell and what they may look to do in regards to why that would be significant because they're such a large company, certainly compared with MicroStrategy, which is a stock that's been doing brilliantly. We're going to be talking about how tech has seen the largest weekly inflows in history. Now, why is all this happening? Why is the S&P doing so well? Well, it's because it knows what's coming. Remember, markets are forward-looking. We are going to get those rate cuts. We looked at that in a little bit more detail yesterday. On the topic of rate cuts today, we're actually going to be looking at what's happening in the week ahead. We've got PCEs towards the end of the month, and we're going to be looking at the expectations for that inflationary metric. We're also going to be talking about wheat, which is coming off hard, looking at inflation generally. Remember, that's going to affect the dollar, which, of course, is going to affect risk, and it affects the dollar through, obviously, rate pricing. We're going to be talking about short squeezes. We're going to be looking at the total 2, again, of course, which is our favorite crypto chart. And we're going to be talking about a number of crypto index funds out there that are all pointing in the same direction, including Marathon Digital Holding. So we have a hell of a lot to get into. As always, ladies and gentlemen, let's dive into it all. And let's start things off with the Bitcoinization of large companies out there. So this is from Fred Kruger. I don't know where this guy came from, by the way. He just seemed to have popped up from nowhere. Very entertaining guy. The elephant has entered the room. And what he's showing here is Michael Dell, who is the, I think, 58% shareholder of Dell, and Michael Saylor. And what he's talking about is the fact that Dell, or Michael Dell, and Dell, the company, could actually start to buy Bitcoin. And we are seeing the Bitcoinization of billionaires out there because it makes sense, right? It makes sense to have Bitcoin as a holding, perhaps as well as cash at this point, but eventually as an alternative too, because the equation with Bitcoin is you're essentially just short the fiat systems. You're betting on the proliferation, the continued proliferation of them. That's why Bitcoin was created. It came about in 2008. It really did open, I think, Pandora's box. It's really woken up millions and eventually will wake up billions of people to the kind of inherent nature of the fiat systems. And the Dell news, I think, is a little bit more significant than a lot of people give it credit for being. But ultimately, I do think, and when Tesla initially kind of announced that they were going to add Bitcoin to their balance sheet, they then subsequently sold it. I mean, really bad trade on their behalf. Bought it high, sold it low. Not really too great. We got kind of a glimpse of what was to come in regards to companies and wealthy individuals actually holding Bitcoin. And since we saw the sort of rise of the Bitcoin spot ETF, we've seen literally everybody, largest bank in parts of Europe, largest bank or third largest bank in Canada, so on and so forth, actually purchase the iShares Bitcoin ETF because they all want that exposure to it. And we're going to see this continue. It's a real great fundamental narrative for the bull market that I do now believe we're in. And of course, we've got all the technical sort of merit to back it up, as well as a macroeconomic picture, macroeconomic picture. So let's move on a little bit. Something that I thought was really interesting that I haven't seen people talk about is the largest weekly inflows ever to tech funds. And you can see this is what we're seeing. This is from the BOFA, Global Investment Strategy Statistics. Tomorrow we are going to get CoinShares' report. And I think it's going to be quite a bullish one in regards to, we had 5 weeks of straight inflows. Then last week we saw outflows, or the week prior. This week just gone, I think we're going to see inflows again. I think it's going to be significantly higher, certainly as we see a lot of cryptocurrencies in the sort of positions they're in. And we'll talk about that in just a second. But why are we seeing the kind of inflows that we're seeing at this time when the stock market is all-time highs? Because whenever people look at, and I'm going to segue into this before I come back into Ethereum, because I had this comment on my comment section yesterday. Whenever people see this, they get nervous and they start to think, oh, this is a blow off top. This is a great opportunity to short. Well, let NVIDIA be a reminder that you don't short a bull market. So we're here for the stock market. and we've got, I think, a hell of a long way to go. But we'll come back onto ETH in just a moment. Why is the stock market doing that, and why are we seeing these kind of inflows? Well, we're seeing these inflows in this kind of bet on risk, if you will, for the same reasons that Stan Druckenmiller moved from the Russell 2000 down to the or from Nvidia down to the Russell 2000. You know, it's a bet on the kind of environment that we're going to see for risk. And I personally believe that Bitcoin and crypto is going to be the best performing asset in that. In fact, I want to pivot and show you that, guys. Let's put Bitcoin against the SPY. So we were expecting Bitcoin to pull back against the SPY, not just the dollar. It's been doing that. This will set up for some broader continuation. And actually, Bitcoin's going to be outperforming the stock market, the NASDAQ, which you got hit a little bit more hard off. You'd expect that for a higher beta. And, of course, gold. And not just that, also the total 2, I think, is which is the altcoin market, which is predominantly what I, of course, watch. You'll know this as somebody who's betting that altcoins will outperform Bitcoin. Whether I'll be right on that equation or not is still to be seen, but we will see. It's the bet I've personally taken. We teach something called phase analysis, breakout, retest. You're going to see continuation. You're now in an uptrend, ladies and gentlemen. So the total 2 is going to outperform the stock market, gold, and of course, so will Bitcoin. And I think Bitcoin, or the total 2, will eventually outperform Bitcoin. And that's a chart we can talk about on a wholly separate day. But why are we seeing all these inflows? Well, it's because of the environment that we're in for risk. You want to be in the fastest horse. I'm not saying everybody should be all in crypto like myself. It's a risk I'm willing to take. Also, on the topic of where we currently are and what's coming, this is from Elijah. Now, I'm not sure quite how this is calculated, but there is estimated of 6 billion in ETH shorts will get liquidated if ETH gets to 4K. ETH whales are buying like crazy. ETH ETF trading will happen within 10 days. He doesn't know that, but I think that's based on Eric Balanchunas's estimates. 1 million ETH has been withdrawn from exchanges this past week. All this signaling a ETH pump. Bears will get wrecked. Bears have been wrecked already. It's amazing to me that they're doubling down on this point. Every time there's a pullback, I mean, even within my own circles, you know, I have people that go against me on every single pullback and have been doing that since we got back into the market in 2023 at the start, and ultimately been wrong every time. You know, eventually they'll get it right. I just don't think this is the time. So on the topic of ETH, I'm definitely calling for over 10,000, 15,000 higher ETH price. I think this is well and truly broken out. I think this is just setting up for continuation. We had this beautiful bull flag here. You broke up, you ran into resistance, you're pulling back. You can see these wicks coming in. You're going to see that continuation, in my opinion. And actually, let's drop down the time frames. So 4,000 is the liquidation number. They're playing with fire. And I think this is the kind of spark that might ignite what's coming for crypto generally, because you're going to see beautiful bull flag that you broke out of, strong breakout on volume. You're sort of coming back, you're retesting, you're finding a bit of a floor here. I wouldn't be surprised if you set up some sort of continuation. And I don't think Bitcoin looks too bad here either. So there is still the possibility that this could play out and take us to 91,000, which is still well within the sort of broader analysis that we have of taking us to 151,000, which is, of course, I think supported with the macro environment that I think we're going into. Why are you seeing so many inflows? I think you're going to see a short squeeze across the board for the altcoin market, because it's getting heavily shorted here, because a lot of people take that resistance. But it's a clear risk reward, if that makes sense, here, because your stop is here, and of course your profit downside if you're short is it makes sense, you know, because you're at a sort of a point where you can pivot quite fast. So I think we're going to see a pivoting. I think this is what's going to sort of take not just Ethereum but the market up generally. Onto the topic of total 2. We use this saying, when it walks, talks, and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. I think this is going to 3.8 trillion. When we look at something like Mara, and we've got lots of stocks that made our targets, like MicroStrategy, things like that. You know, this is a stock that I'm betting on going to $116. We've got smaller mining stocks that you'll unlock when you become a Patreon that we think are going to 10, 15, 20x. When we look at 21 shares, which is their crypto basket index, this is going to do very well. This is pointing in the same direction that Total 2 is pointing in, Bitcoin's pointing in, that I believe the dollar's going in, so on and so forth. This is obviously Bitwise's top 10 crypto index fund. This is going to nearly 10x, or just under 10x. And of course, this is Grayscale's digital large cap fund. Similar trajectory for that. And we got so many of Grayscale's products right. This was our Ethereum one. Just like we were predicting what we're predicting with these. You know, you can see Ethereum did very well. There's a few. I'm trying to think what else we were looking at. Grayscale's got a lot. Obviously, GBTC no longer trades. Coinbase is well on its way. When it walks, talks, and quacks like a duck, ladies and gentlemen, it's a duck. The people that are betting on downside, in my opinion, at this point, what they're doing that off is not really technically. They're just basically saying, okay, well, surely there's going to have to be a crash. Or they're looking at the SPY like we just shown you, and we've showed you why not to do that with NVIDIA. And they're going, okay, well, it's done well. It's going to have to pull back. That you're going to get pullbacks along the way, but the broader trend is an upward one. All you need to do as an investor is get on the right side of the market. The trend is your friend. Really understand that saying, and understand that you want to be in a market when it's going up. You want to be out of market when it's going down. We are going to be releasing the Market Mastery course. There's a link to my newsletter in the description. You'll get a discount sent to you when that comes out. And we're going to make it as affordable as possible for everybody. But I also believe that, how you get appreciated is with value, and that it's very important not to undersell yourself. So whether we look to do something for students or people who perhaps, might not be as flush with cash as others, or perhaps might not be able to afford it, is something we'll explore in the future. But I've done this before. I've tried to be nice and charged too little for something, and then actually lived to regret it, because I think people appreciate things that they sort of have to pay and work for. But yeah, it's walking, talking, quacking like a duck, ladies and gentlemen. Hang in there. Let's talk about the week that you've got ahead of you. And the big one for me, of course, is US PCEs. We know that the dollar and, of course, rates are a big thing right now. We saw inflation come down to 2.2%. I haven't been in the ding-dong, the second wave of inflation is here, when inflation, certainly using the PCEs as a metric, just looks like this. So I've said, okay, yeah, we can say the second wave's here when it starts to uptick. It's been going sideways. This PCE is expecting for it to come down lower. We've seen good inflationary metrics so far. We had good PMIs. I was looking at the week chart this morning. This looks to be coming down. Inflation generally, oil is a really, really important one to watch. I'll show you oil on a different thing because this one's going to freeze. Where is my oil chart? So we'll use WTI. This is important to watch. This could be basing, but at the same time, it could also be rolling. Wheat's obviously getting slammed. You've got things like OJ, orange juice coming down, nat gas, bit of a rally. But I'm not in the worrying about inflation camp, and that's what's going to drive them to continue to up interest rates. And we're going to get a little bit more clarity on that on Friday. So it's a little bit of time to wait. I think the markets with a little bit of a lackluster week might appreciate that, certainly given the week that they've just had. But ladies and gents, on that note, I'm going to love and leave you. I hope you've enjoyed this content as much as I've enjoyed presenting it. I am still away. I will be back tomorrow, back to business. But we just wanted to get an update out there, sort of preparing people for what's coming. Hang in there, guys. One reason that I think it's important for me to do these daily market updates, not only do I have to do this every day anyway, is keep an eye on everything, obviously for Patreons and things like that, and constantly assess the situation. But also in times like we've just gone through, and we've gone through many of them already, certainly since we've been in what I believe is an uptrending market generally for risk. When the pullbacks occur, I get the same people show up each and every time. It's over, this is, blah, blah, blah. But you've got to have that bigger vision. You've got to have that broader understanding of the charts. And you've basically got to understand what it is you're even doing in the first place. I do think there's a real naivety when it comes to the markets, which, by the way, is exactly where I was in 2017. Okay, I'd played with other markets a little bit, but really had no sort of technical grasp or understanding what I was doing. And I wish I'd had somebody like myself to follow back then, because there's a lot of snake oil salesmen on YouTube. There's a lot of great people as well. There's a lot of absolutely amazing people on YouTube. I think YouTube's an amazing platform. The same with Twitter. I know a lot of the snake oil salesmen. I've been invited to some of these bigger groups, and you'd be surprised who's in them. You probably know a lot of them. And I won't tell you why I know they're snake oil salesmen. But, we're as genuine as it comes on this channel. You don't have to do anything based on what we say. We don't want anyone to do anything based on what we say. We just want to be a voice, perhaps, in the pantheon of voices that you have when it comes to the markets, and hopefully be able to technically show you and back up why it is we're doing what we're doing, and why we're long. In my case, irresponsibly long, not saying everyone should be that, the markets, and where we get that sort of view and vision from. So I'm going to love and leave you on that note, guys. I do apologize for the different setup and not making as many videos as usual, but I am away, I'm traveling, talking about the Bitcoinization of everything. Even myself, as somebody that owns companies, it's making a lot of sense now for me to start. And I think I might talk about that, because I know there's a lot of you out there that also own limited companies in the United Kingdom. There are ways, and tax efficient ways, where you can actually add assets to your company and providing you know what you're doing, do very well as a result of it. But it's got to be specific to your situation, because not everybody, everyone's company situation is different in regards to money that you need, money that you don't need. Is this cash actual cash, or is this needed for something? Blah, blah, blah. I'm rambling on now, guys. I'm going to love and leave you on that note. I hope you enjoyed this content as much as I enjoyed presenting it. See you all in the next one, ladies and gents. Thanks all for watching. See you in the next.